Horror is a movie genre that can benefit so much from the unknown. From withholding what the audience wants to see until the absolute last and most opportune moment. Less is more, as the old saying goes, and that goes especially double for low-budget productions whose effects and monsters probably wouldn't hold up to scrutiny, but are effective in controlled bursts. So, with that in mind, you're better off not pausing most horror movies at revealing moments where a peek behind the curtain might be offered. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 horror movies you must never pause. Number 10, that's not Anne Ramsey, Deadly Friend. Even if you've never seen Wes Craven's 1986 cult fave Deadly Friend, there's a good chance you've seen the movie's most iconic scene, where the cybernetically enhanced Samantha throws a basketball at the head of neighbor Elvira. The impact of the basketball hilariously explodes Elvira's head into a gloriously bloody mess, and the sheer insanity of the practical gore effects ensures that it's a clip you'll want to watch again and again and again. But make sure to not linger on the actor in the moments before the basketball makes contact with her face, because we're very clearly not looking at actress Anne Ramsey. See, after Samantha throws the basketball, we cut to the back of Ramsey. She's actually been replaced with a rather crude mannequin that bears only the faintest passing resemblance to her. Now, the shot passes quickly enough in motion that it's not too easy to spot, but once you know there's a terrible blood-filled dummy head hiding in plain sight, well, you'll never be able to unsee it. Number 9. This crew member just hanging out. I Spit on Your Grave, 1978. I Spit on Your Grave is a film you probably won't want to pause anyway, considering the utterly stomach-churning nature of its narrative. From its subject matter through to its micro-budget production, it's a film that makes you want to shower the second you're done watching it. But if you keep your eyes peeled in the early going when Jennifer flees her attackers in the woods, you'll find one of the most glaring mistakes in the history of the horror genre. See, on the far left side of the screen, a crew member can be seen just hanging out watching the scene unfold. Given that they appear to be holding a pole of some kind, we can probably assume that they're a member of the sound department holding a boom mic, though if you want to make the narrative even more harrowing than it is, then you can just convince yourself that the crew member is actually some random bystander in the woods who just decides to ignore Jennifer's attack. Number 8. Candyman's Harness, Candyman 1992. If the original Candyman is proof of anything, it's that even the most terrifying of horror icons needs a little sneaky help from time to time. In the movie's third act, Helen Lyle is committed to a psychiatric hospital, and in an attempt to prove the existence of Candyman to her psychiatrist Dr. Burke, she summons him by saying his name 5 times into the nearby mirror. And indeed, Candyman soon appears behind Dr. Burke, slicing his back open with his hook hand and promptly killing him. After this, Candyman flies backwards out of the room's window and disappears, but if you look closely, you might just notice the safety harness visible above actor Tony Todd's head. Now, this harness is also additionally visible earlier in the scene when Candyman first appears behind Dr. Burke, suggesting that Todd was rigged up throughout the entire sequence. Number 7. Johnny's Dummy, Night of the Living Dead, 1990. Audiences have thankfully come round to Tom Savini's 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead more in recent years. Yet things don't admittedly get off to the most encouraging start for eagle-eyed viewers, given that Barbara's doomed brother Johnny dies a most unintentionally comical death. As he tries to protect Barbara from the attacking zombie, he's mauled and falls onto a gravestone, killing him dead. But the shot where Johnny's head makes contact with the gravestone has very obviously replaced actor Bill Moseley with a dummy. His blank, expressionless, plasticky face and utter lack of body movement as he falls to the ground are a far cry from Johnny's visceral human struggle mere seconds earlier. Now, given Savini's standing in the industry as a peerless makeup and effects artist, it is kinda surprising that he let something so thoroughly naff-looking make it into the final cut, but at least most of the movie's other effects look pretty damn great. Number 6. The Snapchat filter Demon Face, Annabelle Creation. Annabelle Creation was, for the most part, a majorly pleasant surprise, a massively improved prequel to 2014's Annabelle, yet there's one moment that even director David F. Sandberg admits fell rather flat. See, midway through the movie, young Janice is tormented by the demonic entity Malthus, who has taken the form of the human Annabelle who died years prior. As Janice approaches Annabelle and asks her what she needs, Annabelle suddenly turns around, revealing her horrifying demonic face, which basically looks like a free Snapchat filter applied to actress Samara Lee's face. To make the moment even more unintentionally hokey, Annabelle then shouts "your soul" in the most over-the-top hammy way possible, conjuring more memories of Evil Dead than less of, well, The Conjuring. And hey, I love Evil Dead, but you get the sense that that's not quite what they were going for here. Number 5, the obvious Freddy double, A Nightmare on Elm Street 1984. More than is the case with any other horror icon, Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. His voice, personality, and physicality are all baked-in signatures of the character, and fans can spot an imposter coming a mile off. Case in point, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, kicks off with Tina being hunted by Freddy in her dreams and eventually killed. Now, we all remember when she's chased down the street by Freddy, only for him to then teleport to the other end of said street and catch her off guard. This, in practice, is obviously a super basic use of doubles, as Englund himself plays the close-up version of Freddy who catches Tina by surprise, while the distant Freddy chasing after her is simply a random double in silhouette. Except once you notice it, it's kinda tough to shake the reality that the Freddy double is clearly considerably shorter in stature than Robert Englund. Wes Craven even had good fun pointing this fact out on the movie's DVD commentary, noting that the double was, quote, about 4 feet tall. Number 4, Marty's rubber face, Poltergeist 1982. One of Poltergeist's most memorably horrific sequences sees Dr. Marty Casey envisioning himself ripping his own face off to reveal the skeleton beneath. Though the actual skin-ripping effects are fantastically, disgustingly detailed, the very first shot of the sequence isn't so persuasive. As Marty starts tending to the cut on his face, actor Martin Casella is suddenly replaced with a dead-eyed dummy. And the awkward placement of the hands touching the face makes it obvious that somebody is placed below the dummy, peeling away at the face from above. Now, it doesn't help at all either that this shot is so brightly lit, drawing even more attention to just how rubbery and lifeless Marty's face and eyes look. Thankfully, for the rest of the sequence, the bathroom is bathed in pulsing dim lights, and the plentiful gore effects are impressive enough to distract from the not remotely lifelike face. Number 3, the digital zombie dog, Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. While it's understandable that a Resident Evil movie would need to use comprehensive CGI to create grotesque undead monsters like Lickers and the Tyrant, did the filmmakers behind Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City really need to go fully digital for the zombie dogs? Halfway through this movie, Chief Irons is attacked by one of the undead canines, and rather than slap VFX on an actual dog in post-production, the entire thing appears to be 100% CG. And to say it looks horrible would be an understatement, but at least in motion in the dimly lit confines of the parking garage, it passes by quickly enough, more or less. Dare to hit the pause button on it though, and you'll see just how bad it looks in isolation. Ironically, it kinda looks like something out of a crappy video game cutscene, and is especially embarrassing considering Paul W.S. Anderson's original Resident Evil gave us brilliant practical zombie dogs almost 20 years prior. Number 2, HALLORAN'S CGI head, Jigsaw. Even in its worst installments, the Saw franchise can be counted upon to deliver some gnarly death sequences packed with tactile, practical gore effects. At least, in theory it can. Though 2017's Jigsaw was relatively restrained in the gore department compared to its predecessors, it at least ended with a promisingly brutal final kill, as corrupt Detective Halloran had his head split into pieces by a laser cutter, courtesy of Jigsaw's apprentice Logan. Yet rather than achieve such an elaborate death scene practically, the filmmakers instead relied upon VFX, and disappointingly sloppy, unconvincing VFX at that. That's because as Halloran's head splits open, the entire effect looks like something out, again, of a video game. In the close-up shot of Halloran's face in particular, it's painfully obvious that we're not looking at a real human being, but rather a lo-fi digital model. Given that the Saw movies have mostly relied upon practical gore effects for their grandstanding death scenes, this ended the already mediocre Jigsaw on an especially underwhelming note. Number 1, Tim's ill-proportioned dummy, Final Destination 2. Final Destination 2 boasts many of the strongest and most memorable deaths in the entire series, and none proves more iconic than that of poor Tim Carpenter, who meets his end when a gigantic, thick sheet of glass is accidentally dropped on him from a construction crane. Now Tim's body is near instantly obliterated by the glass, crushing his body into a bloody, pulpy mass, all the while his traumatized mother Nora watches on in horror. Unlike Jigsaw, the effect was at least achieved with totally practical effects, namely a dummy rigged up with squibs to violently explode at the moment of impact. In motion as well, Tim's death looks absolutely great, but again, if you hit the pause button at the wrong time, there are a few frames before he's turned into soup where it becomes apparent just how rubbish the dummy actually looks. So, that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Have you ever accidentally paused a horror movie at the wrong moment and seen something you could never unsee? And did you notice this lot? Let me know, and while you're down there, if you could, please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to What Culture Horror for more lists and news like this on the regular. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.